was set up, me and him talked on the phone, and I'm texting him saying, listen, man, the weather's bad. I don't think you need to get on the plane. There's too much to come out tornadoes and the rain and the people are, flooded up to their waist. I said, listen, man, stay home. He texted me back. Okay, shit. Not too long ago, I was in the office. My phone rang. He said, Assalamu alaikum. I said, wa alaikum salam. He said, how's everything going? How's the lecture? I said, nice, mashallah. The brothers came out. We got support. I think we're onto something. It feels good. Food good. The company's good. Everything's good. I said, man, I sure wish you was here. He said, I'm here. I went outside. I'm looking in the parking lot. You ain't here. He said, I'm at my mom's house. I said, oh, it's like that. He said, man, I can't stay away from home. It's a long background. So Allah Azza wa Jal, man, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, brought him to us. So inshallah ta'ala, with that being said, I'm going to turn the mic over to our Allah. Everybody's surprised. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thank Allah for the opportunity to see you brothers and miss you brothers. MashaAllah, it's beautiful to see all of you. Hafizakum Allah, you brothers, Allahumma barak alayhim. It's like y'all don't age or you age it backwards. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Right? So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. But as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in authentic narration, Ihfadillah yahfadka. If you preserve, he commanded the people, he said, you preserve the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Preserve the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will preserve you. You preserve your mind, you preserve your body, your life, your ability to reproduce, and everything else. So from the looks of you brothers, barakallahu feekum, my husn al-dhan and good thoughts of you based off the way you all look, y'all are really obedient, mashallah. So may Allah preserve you all in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the topic that we were asked to discuss, in my opinion, was really technically too advanced for me to discuss myself and even talk about. And I'm not saying it from Tawadra, I'm just being honest. You could have let some of the other brothers who are senior to me in knowledge and in age discuss this topic and life experience. But sometimes I think when they arrange the talks, they like to play practical jokes and put brothers in situations. But alhamdulillah, the beautiful thing about it, the Quran and Sunnah is so sufficient for us. And the compilations and the construction of the ulama and their tartib and the nizam, the way they organize and structure their works, alhamdulillah, is more than sufficient for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is more than sufficient for us. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit this evening, and that He make us sincere and allow us to attain our goal, which is to please Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Jawzi, rahimahullah ta'ala, mentioned something in his book, Tanbis Iblis, which I guess the best way to literally translate it is the tricks, the plots, or the manipulations of Shaytaan. He mentioned something in his book. He said, اعلم أن الآدمي لما خلق ركب فيه الهوى والشهوة ليجتنب بذلك ما ينفعه ووضع فيه الغضب ليدفع به ما يؤذيه. He said that when the human race was created, they had placed in them desires and passions. The human being was created, when the human race, right, was created, when we're created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He creates us with a passion and He creates us with a desire, with ambition, right? He creates us with a passion and with a desire. We have passions and we have desire. We're passionate and we're ambitious, right? We have desires. And the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us these desires is so that we can be passionate in our pursuit of what's going to benefit us. You can't go chase things that are beneficial if you're not motivated and you don't have passion. So the natural disposition of a human being is that he or she is passionate. They have a desire. They're motivated. They want things. And the reason behind that, the Shaykh said, rahimahullah, is so that we can attain the things and go after those things that will benefit us. He said, and the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us anger is so that we can protect ourselves from things that will harm us. He gave us anger. He created anger and put anger in us so that we will be defensive, right, in our pursuit to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'll stay away from those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with. So that's what your anger is for. It's not to disrespect your wife. Sisters, it's not so you can go crazy because your husband got another wife. That's not so you can yell and scream at your children. No. That anger that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you is so that you can use that energy to hate for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من أحب لله وأبغض لله وأعطى لله ومنع لله فقد استكمل الإيمان. Anybody who loves for Allah and hates for Allah and gives for Allah and holds back for Allah has perfected his iman. So that anger that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us, the Shaykh says the purpose, the sabbath, the reason why he gave that to us is so that we can use it to aggressively protect ourselves from anything that's harmful. He said, وَأُعْطِيَ الْعَقْلُ كَالْمُؤَدِّبِ يَأْمُرُهُ بِالْعَدْلِ فِيمَا يُجْتَنَبُ وَيُجْتَنَبُ. He said, the human being has been given an intellect in order to keep him on track, to keep him disciplined. And the purpose of that intellect is so that it can order the human being and inspire the human being and direct the human being to that which is going to be a benefit and to protect it from that which is going to be a harm. He said, وَخُلِقَ الشَّيْطَانُ مُحَرِّضًا لَهُ عَلَى الْإِسْرَافِ فِي اجْتِنَابِهِ وَاجْتِنَابِهِ. And remember, the talk is centered around the plot of Shaytaan. He said, the reason why Shaytaan was created is so that he can try to get the human being to misuse all of those things that Allah gave. He was created to get you to misuse and misappropriate your anger. He was created so that he can get you to misuse and appropriate your passions and your desires. Everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, he gave you for the purpose of worshiping him. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah said, I have not created the jinn or the human being except for the purpose of worshiping me. So everything that that human being has been given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the purpose of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Shaytan's job is to try to get you to misuse, mismanage, and misappropriate all of those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us within our creation.
He said, فالواجب على العاقل أن يأخذ حذره من هذا العدو الذي قد أبان عداوته من زمن آدم عليه الصلاة والسلام وقد بذل عمره ونفسه في إفساد أحوال بني آدم. He said, therefore, it is incumbent, it's an obligation. It's absolutely necessary for the smart and intelligent person to acknowledge Shaytaan as his enemy, to acknowledge that he's his enemy. So all of those suggestions and those ideas that we have, you have to understand that they're coming from your enemy. That's the real op. Right? That's the real op. We're in the hood right now, right? This is the hood right now. Okay? So in this city, people literally historically have been killing each other over all kind of foolishness. And this person is an op. I remember right now to this day, as I was driving through, psychologically, I'm still driving subconsciously. I'm like, I don't like these people. And I just stopped myself out. Because from the time I was little, it was drilled in me to not want to mess with people from this neighborhood, from that neighborhood. And subconsciously, you ride through, and you like, and you got to snap out of it. Remember, that's not what we do. Culturally, we have people that we consider to be enemies for no reason. And we stay away from them. If they offer us something, we would automatically assume it's poison. If they told us, come over here, we would automatically assume it's a sinner. But Shaytaan has these suggestions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that he's our enemy, and we take his suggestions all the time. But if somebody on a different color, and that color that he's wearing is a rival gang color, doesn't make a difference who he is. Want nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. Don't even know him. Want nothing to do with him. But this enemy is clear. He's let his, the Shirk made it very clear. He said he made abana adawatahu. He made his adawa, his enmity towards us, very clear. He made it very clear. He's not trying to hide the fact that he's our enemy. Maybe when he's approaching us, he does it in a slick way and cause you to forget, to acknowledge that he's our enemy. But in general, it's clear, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposed this cloud. He made his enmity towards us clear from the time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam. And he has spent, the Shaykh said, his entire life, all of his energy, the whole time, he has spent trying to destroy the sons and daughters of Adam and all of their circumstances. He's dedicated his life to your destruction. You don't have an enemy like this. You don't have an enemy like this. It doesn't make a difference who you perceive to be your enemy. It doesn't make a difference who it is. If you're a Republican and the Democrat, now I'm saying it's figuratively, there's no Republicans and Democrats. But if you're a Republican and the Democrats are your enemy, and if you're a Democrat and the Republicans are your enemy, doesn't make a difference. If you are a person of color and the police are your enemy, if you're a police officer and the people who want to cancel the police are your enemy, doesn't make a difference what gang you're from. There is no enemy that you will ever have that's like Shaytaan. Because his ambition and his passion, his desire to destroy you is different. You've never seen anything like this. You can talk an enemy. People can sit down and resolve their issues. You can pay people off. There's people use the ritual and bribe their enemy to leave them alone. You can't bribe shit. You're not going to sit down and talk him out of hating you. Not to mention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him the ability to stay alive up until Yawm al-Qiyamah, to try to destroy you. You don't have an enemy like this. Your wife could put you on child support, passport messed up, but there's a way that inshallah you can make something smile. Brothers don't listen, they get a divorce. I say, look, take care of that girl for about a year or two. Go ahead, just keep on taking care of her until she get remarried. They don't want to listen. I'm done. Then you're on child support. Now you're living this moon, trying to figure out what happened. You should have taken care of her. You divorced her. She got no family. You put her outside. Now she's your enemy. Even still, you can resolve that. Your ex-wife's mad. Go buy your car, watch how mad she stopped me. Go buy a car, say, listen, put a bow right in front. Say, listen, girl, you take my baby, you take care of my babies. I'm a fool, I messed up. I'm sorry. And leave that car. You watch her be at the message saying, you know, the brother, he got his faults, but you back. Now you back. MashaAllah. Sunni, she got good stuff. Beef over. Right? Shaytaan is nothing you can do. That's your real enemy. He's dedicated his whole life to destroying us. Before we were born, he took an oath to destroy us. He said, وَقَدْ أَمَرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى بِالْحَذَرِ مِنْهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to stay away from him. فَقَالَ وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Allah said, and do not follow the footsteps, the suggestions of Shaytaan. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. Indeed, Shaytaan is a clear enemy to you. إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَنْ تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. He orders you with evil, with fahsha, and he orders you to say things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you don't have any knowledge about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him, يُرِيدُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَن يُضِلَّهُمْ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. Shaytan wants to lead everybody astray. Far, far astray. كثير رحمه الله تعالى, he said this statement, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خطوات الشيطان, do not follow the خطوات, or as they translate the footsteps of Shaytan. Qatada ibn Bi'am and others, they said about this verse, كل معصية لله فهي من خطوات الشيطان. Every act of disobedience is from the خطوات الشيطان. It's from the footsteps as they translate of Shaytan. Every act of disobedience, any sin you commit, know that you have listened to the suggestions of your enemy. Just think about yourself, what a fool you would feel like if you know that somebody that wants to kill you gave you some poison, you drank it, and now you're sick. You're going to say, how could I drink that knowing this person hates me? How could I eat in that knowing that person hates me and wants to kill me, wants to see me harm? How could I have been so foolish? When you commit a sin, you have to think to yourself, I just fell for Shaytan. He got me. And that nadam, that embarrassment in front of Allah, is supposed to drive you and compel you to never fall into that sin again. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. He's a clear enemy to you. تَنْفِيرٌ عَنْهُ وَتَحْذِيرٌ. This Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala letting us know we have to stay away from him. We have to do everything we can to avoid him at all costs. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from him. And we have to always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from him and stay away from him and his suggestions. إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. He orders you with su' and fahsha, and to say things about Allah that you don't have any knowledge of. أي إنما يأمركم عدوكم الشيطان بالأفعال السيئة. Your enemy Shaytan is ordering you with evil, corrupt actions. وأغلظ منها الفاحشة كالزنا ونحوه. And worse than that, those general evil actions are the real filthy actions, the fahsha, like zina. Shaytan comes to you and he gets you to make light of that sin. He comes to you and gets you to make light of things like premarital sex, cause you to belittle the sin. That's worse than just a general act of disobedience. Al-fahsha is more specific. Lewdness. He said, وَأَغْلَظُ مِنْهَا وَأَغْلَظُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ وَهُوَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِلَا عِلْمٍ. And worse than premarital intercourse, worse than any lewdness, is that a person speaks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with no knowledge. They say things about Allah with no knowledge. They say things about Allah like the man upstairs. This is what the Kuffar said. The Muslims have their own problems. And we're not talking about the Rafidah. We're not talking about the Sufis and the Tasawwuf. We're not talking about them. They're a whole other level of deviation. We're talking about people who ascribe to the Sunnah, to the Salafiyyah. But at the same time, they say things like, I was getting ready to go to the store last night. Allah said, no, you go home tonight. Hey, what did Allah say that? They say it. Said I was getting ready to go to college. Allah said, no, you're going to finish. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that? You know what I'm trying to say. La. If Imam Ahmad heard you talk like that, he wouldn't take your hadith. They said, yeah, but Imam Ahmad, you know, he said, I know what he meant, but he said it wrong. He should have said it the way Sunnah says it. So because of that, I don't feel comfortable putting his narrations in my book. That's worse than the fahsha and the sin and the filth. To say things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, الذي ما أنزل الله به سلطان. Allah didn't reveal any authority for you to speak about him in that way, so don't speak about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that way. Respectfully. The Shaykh said, فَيَدْخُلُ فِي هَذَا كُلُّ كَافِرٍ وَكُلُّ مُبْتَدِعٍ أَيْضًا. He said, every kafir, because they say things about Allah that they have no knowledge of all the time, whether it's denying his existence, whether they're saying he's everywhere and everything, whether they're saying he has a son or daughters, whatever it is that they say, he's one of three, they're lying and saying things about Allah that Allah did not give them any information regarding them. And the Mubtadi'un, they say things about Allah where they describe the Asma'a and the Sifat of Allah away. And they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't really talk to Musa. Allah said, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. That Allah spoke to Musa. And he said, taklima, by actually speaking to Musa. They reject that. And they change the ayah. And they say, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهَ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. That Musa spoke to Allah. They changed that. Allah didn't give them authority to deny the speaking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He speaks in a manner that befits his majesty. So the Kadir said every kafir and every deviant falls into this category of people who speak about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with no knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he clarifies to us some history about Shaytaan all throughout the Quran. قال ربك للملائكة إني خالق بشرا من طين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, when your Lord said to the Malaika, indeed I am creating a human being from clay. فإذا سويته ونفخت فيه من روحي فقعوا له ساجدين. So when I finish shaping him and structuring him and breathing into him, my soul or the soul that I created for him, placing that soul in him, prostrate to him, fall down in prostration to him. Sajidin, yani, this is a sujood of ihtiram, not a sujood of ibad. This is a prostration of respect, not one of worship. And the ulama said that this has been abrogated. That this ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't prostrate to people out of respect. We don't prostrate to one another out of respect. That's not a practice that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died allowing his companions to do. When he died, that was something that they never did that. But previous times, previous nations, like in this specific situation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the Malaika, and Shaytaan happened to be there a Muslim, to prostrate to Adam, ihtiraman, out of respect, muhtarimin, to show their respect for Adam. فَسَجَدَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ كُلُّهُمْ أَجْمَعُونَ. All of the Malaika, all of the angels prostrated to Adam out of respect. إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ اسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Except for Iblis, he was arrogant. And he was from the kafirin. قَالَ يَا إِبْلِيسَ. Allah said to him, O Iblis, مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَسْجُدَ لِمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيْ. What is it that caused you to not prostrate to the one that I created with both of my hands? أَسْتَكْبَرْتَ أَمْ كُنْتَ مِنَ الْعَالِينَ. Is it that you're arrogant, or do you see yourself to be too far above, like you're so great that you don't have to obey Allah? This is the ulama. In this ayah, Allah will ask him, is it that you think that you have become so great, you're so high, you think so highly of yourself that you think you have the right to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We have to look at ourselves. These ayat are not only for the entertainment of the soul. Allah, the stories in the Quran are entertaining for the soul. You can use some takhayyul and take your imagination and think about these stories and picture things taking place. And it gives you a feeling your soul gets entertained with this information. But that's part of it. The other part, you have to take some ibad. There's some lessons you got to take out of this. You have to think about the time that you want to disobey Allah. You know Allah commanded you to do something, but you don't do it. And you have to think about the similarity between you and your enemy, Shaytaan, at that moment. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the woman to wear the hijab and she doesn't do it, she has to ask herself, why am I not doing it? Why? رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن الواحد القهار الذي لا إله إلا هو is the one that commanded me to do it, but I'm not doing it. What's my reason? You have to ask yourself, why am I behaving like my enemy? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to do something, he didn't do it. And Allah commanded me to do something and now I'm not doing it. I have to ask myself, what's wrong with me? Why am I behaving like Shaytaan? قال أنا خير منه. Shaytaan said to Allah, I'm better than her. خلقتني من نار وخلقتها من طين. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. The ulama said this, his qiyas was fasid. That the Shaytaan's analogical deduction, what he came up with, the conclusion that he reached, kana fasidan. It was corrupted in Kathir said, rahimahullah. He said, because in all actuality, there's more benefit in clay than there is fire. They said because fire burns and destroys. There's benefit in it. But look how easy a small fire can destroy people's lives and homes and crops. And when you look at clay, it's probably one of the most easiest things in the world to manage and to use to your benefit. It says, so Shaytaan's ijtihad, his qiyas, what he came up with was wrong. On top of the fact that he was being arrogant and he had no place to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah said to him, leave the Jannah, leave this place, leave this Jannah. You are cursed, exposed, and humiliated, degraded. But this is what happened with Masjid. This is what sin does to a person. It degrades you. It degrades you. You see, brothers, some brothers we know, they were people who we had respect for, who we loved, who we trusted. And then they start to fall into kaba'ir, major sins. So we become uncomfortable with them in their major sins. We can do dua for them, but we have a level of discomfort. Then some of them leave Islam. They start to speak out against Islam, make videos trying to talk about the inaccuracies in Islam, which is impossible to do. But they try. And now the person's humiliated. Wallahi, I know a brother who left Islam, he's going around giving dawah. Wallahi, tallahi, wa billahi. His face looks distorted now. His face, it looks like something's wrong with it. It looks like something's wrong with his whole face. It looks distorted. His eyes, everything in him, the nur that he had is gone. Wallahi, never seen anything like it in my life. Some people, their demeanor, they leave Islam. The women take off the hijab. They're shy. They remove the hijab. They're crazy. One time I was walking down the street. Somebody said, Ismaaeel. I'm like, what is this lady calling me? On top of that, she called me Ismaaeel. I looked up. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am. Do I know you? She said, yeah, I'm so-and-so's wife, one of the older brothers that I know from years ago. She said, I'm so-and-so's wife, but I used to be covered there. No hayat. I remember being young when some of the older brothers in this room, and the brother's not here, so I'm not supposed to be brother. Y'all are never guessing. That's the only reason I use the example. I'll give you 100 guesses. You won't get it. But when I was younger, the brothers were taking me around trying to make sure that I didn't fall into any of this foolishness going on in Patterson. A lot of people. We had a lot of reward, all of them, because they wouldn't let me go home. They would keep me with them like Uncle Rashid until I start falling asleep. and then they would drop me off and come back to be professional. Keep me with them. Some used to take me to work with them because they didn't want me to fall into anything. Because there's a lot of young brothers here, and they're not here, subhanAllah. I don't know where they at. Maybe it's one or two. But a lot of them got caught up, right? They couldn't take it. They got caught up. That's why I started wearing shoes and then chip socks and those chip coats when I was 27 years old, hanging out with OGs. But my point is that the older sister, took a hijab off and left Islam completely. Completely, verbally, they said she's not a Muslim. Left Islam. When I was young, I remember so much hayat. When she told me who her husband was, I remember how you would go to the house and you wouldn't even know she was home and they had a small apartment because she refused to come out if somebody was there. Refused. You refused. Now she's screaming. I didn't even know she was. I'm going to walk right by. She called me because she knew me since I was young. She called, screamed my name out in front of everybody. Because that's what happened when you fall to Masjid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove whatever good you had, He takes it from you. That's one of the punishments. Ibn Qayyim said, "Al-ma'asi tufsidu al-uqul." Sin, it distorts and messes up your intellect. So at one time you used to make good choices. Now when you fall into this ma'asi and you become steadfast upon disobedience, you can't make good choices anymore. Your mind is gone. There's a seal on their hearts because of all of the sins that they commit. Sin after sin, the Prophet said, every time you commit a sin, a black dot is placed on your heart. And if you continue to commit those sins without repentance, those black dots accumulate and they become alarm. And your heart is now sealed. And the ability that you once had to distinguish and delineate between good and evil, right and wrong, sunnah and bid'ah, tawheed and shirk, that's gone. Look at how many people left the ulama of Ahl Sunnah, left the books of Ahl Sunnah, left the da'wah of Ahl Sunnah, and they became what the athirun, the mubtadi'een. Now they're influenced by innovators and people, real innovators, not two brothers in the room misunderstood what you said, so now you're an innovator. Not that nonsense. A real live mubtadi', real deviance, right? Somebody who clearly denounces and speaks against the Quran and Sunnah. People who say things like, I don't see how the methodology of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba could function in today's society. I don't want to mention the person's name now, it's not the time for it. But it's a famous da'i that says that. And at one time he would have never made a statement like that. But now he makes that statement publicly. He made that statement. You look at him now, his da'wah now, his personality now, versus then, a whole entirely different person. Because that ability to remain steadfast, that istiqamah, that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He's not going to give it to you if you're upon disobedience. And from disobedience is opposition to the Quran and Sunnah. From the disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that you miscontextualize the ayat and the hadith of the Prophet. You use them in ways and you contextualize them in ways that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum didn't learn from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's ma'siyah. That's a sin. That's why when some of the brothers get called innovators too fast, they're ready to fight. Some of the brothers actually get real angry because you're telling me that I have chosen a life of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purposely. You call somebody mubtadi', you're telling him you are a person who's taking the Quran and Sunnah out of its context, or you putting the Quran and Sunnah to the side for what you want to do and what you think Islam should have. That's what you accuse a brother of when you call him a mubtadi'. So when you call him that, you better be sure that that's what he's doing, because that is a major sin. And when people do that, there's a punishment. When Shaytaan disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him. فَخْرُجْ مِنْهَا فَإِنَّكَ رَجِيمٌ. Kicked him out of the paradise. Leave from this place. You are cursed and humiliated. Exiled. Because he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكَ لَعْنَتِي إِلَى يَوْمِ الدِّينِ. Allah said, and indeed upon you is my curse until Yawm al-Qiyamah, to the day of judgment. You cursed until the day of judgment. قال ربي فأنذرني إلى يوم يبعثون. He said, oh my Lord, even in his being astray, he still addressed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as, oh my Lord. Because the izzah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the might and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his status has to be acknowledged. That's why the kuffar, when they're in bad situations, the first thing they do is say, oh my God, atheists. Atheists get in a car accident, he's screaming, oh my God, Lord help me. Screaming, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Atheists. Because in all actuality, you can't deny the izzah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be in a state of acknowledgement. When certain things that take place, that natural part of you that acknowledges Allah kicks in. Shaytaan said, oh our Lord, give me some time to unveil me. Delay my death. Don't destroy me. Do not destroy me up until Yawm al-Qiyamah. I mean, allow me to just live. Don't make it so that I live a certain amount of time and then die like everybody else. Give me a prolonged life. Allow me to move and to stay alive for a long period of time. Up until the day that you send the people forth from their graves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, you've been granted that. You have that time that you asked for. Up until that time that's known only by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that day of judgment. He said to Allah, I swear by your might, I'm going to deceive them and corrupt them and lead each and every one of them astray. He's talking about us. We weren't even born yet. He's talking about us and our offspring, our grandparents, all of our ancestors. He's talking about all of us. This is your enemy. He didn't even know you, and he swore he's going to try to get you to be thrown in the hellfire. Imagine looking at a baby, a human being who loves everybody on earth, but it's something about this one newborn baby that he says, I want that little newborn baby on his mother's breast to go to hell for eternity. What would you think about a person like that? Shaytaan said that about the whole human race. The baby in the womb, he can't wait for the baby to come out. He's already trying to destroy the parents, the household, the society, the government, the entire environment, the whole planet if he could, just to destroy each and every human being in it. Try to get you to eat the worst kind of food. The ulama says Shaytaan tried to get you to eat, to nurture yourself and to consume food that's unhealthy. Because there's some food that affects your thinking. There's some food that causes what they call fog brain or something like that. Where when you eat it, certain ingredients, it will slow down your processing. He wants you to become sick so you can't make rukur and you can't make sujood and you become lethargic and can't get to the masjid. Your diet. Anything he can do to get you to disobey Allah and to fall off, that's what he wants you to do. Look at the music industry. I mean, I don't understand. I can't understand how somebody can't. This is the most obvious thing in the world. The whole song is about, I'm going to find this person, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to take his wife, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to steal all his wealth. And that's the #1 song in the country. Literally. I'm going to kill him, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go take a bunch of pills, and maybe I'll overdose. And if I do, I will not with a smile. It'll be the #1 song in the whole country. You can listen to it. Excuse me, it'll be listened, even in the Muslim countries, they're listening to it. Literally. Because anything he can do to destroy you, anything he can do to destroy you, that's what he's trying to do. إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. He said, except for those chosen ones from amongst your slaves, who you make sincere. Notice he said al-mukhlasin, and he didn't say al-mukhlisin. Al-mukhlasin. Right, Sheikh Jameel? Nahwiyan, that's my first Nahw teacher, barakallahu feek. He said mukhlasin because those people can't get ikhlas on their own. That has to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ones who Allah makes sincere. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika shay'an wa ana a'lam wa astaghfiruka bima la a'lam. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from making shirk and you can't be a muwahhid unless Allah cultivates you upon tawheed. What do you think you got that? Because you read Kitab Tawheed 4 times? That's what you did? That comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those Anbiya and Rusul alayhi salam, they never read none of the books that we have in our libraries. And their understanding of Tawheed would never reach that level. They didn't read any book. Didn't memorize any of the mutun that we have. MashaAllah, Shaytaan, MashaAllah. And they reach levels of understanding of Tawheed that will never reach barakallahu feekum. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised them up and cultivated them upon that knowledge. You can't get ikhlas unless Allah gives it to you. You're not going to get sincerity unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it to you. And Shaytaan understood that. And he knew that if Allah gives anyone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives ikhlas and sincerity to, he can't do anything with that person. He can't do anything with that person. He'll give up. There's levels of righteousness that can discourage Shaytaan. Listen, you heard what I said? There's levels of righteousness and iman that can intimidate Shaytaan. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned on authentic narration that comes in Muqaddamah of Sahih Muslim, إن الشيطان قد أيس أن يعبده المصلون في جزيرة العرب ولكن في تعريش بينهم. That indeed Shaytaan gave up hope, trying to get the people in the Arabian Peninsula to worship. Rather, his concentration is on trying to cause dissension and tafarruq and tanazur, fitna, cause the people to not like one another. That's what he's concentrating on. Because those Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, the understanding of Tawheed was so strong, Shaytaan knew he couldn't get them to worship him anymore. He knew he couldn't manipulate them like he once was able to. Because their iman got so high, it discouraged him and intimidated him. That's why when Umar radiallahu anhu used to walk across down the street, Shaytaan would go on the other side of the street. There's too much iman over there. It's too much ikhlas. Too much ta'ah. He obeys Allah too much. It's too much steadfastness. It intimidated him. But if Shaytaan is playing games with you, can get you to do whatever he feels like, trick you and manipulate you every day, you really got to look at yourself. We have to really look at ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالَ فَالْحَقُّ وَالْحَقَّ أَقُولُ. And the ulama, they differ over this. Some of them say that here when Allah said فَالْحَقُّ, meaning he's talking about himself. Meaning Allah is speaking something that's extremely true right now. Some of the ulama say. And some of the ulama say that he had this statement, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the truth and just emphasizing the fact that what he's saying now is extremely truthful. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech is all infinitely, right? Perfectly, absolutely truthful. But he, tabarak wa ta'ala, wanted to emphasize this in a way that we will be able to ponder over. He said, لَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكَ وَمِمَّنْ تَبِعَكَ مِنْهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I'm going to fill the hellfire up with you and with everybody who follows you. He said, I'm going to fill the hellfire up with you, with Shaytaan, and with every individual that follows you. That's your enemy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about Shaytaan, he said, وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, I'm going to lead them astray. And this, وَلَأُضِلَّنَّ, this is, the lam here is for tawqeed, to show emphasis. And this noon, the tawqeed al-thaqila, is to show emphasis. So this is, Shaytaan is saying this with all the passion he could say it with. لَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, I'm going to lead them astray. وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, and I'm going to get them to feel safe disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to trick them into feeling comfortable disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to make them, as the ulama said, I'm going to get them to يُؤَخِّرُونَ تَوْبَتَهُم, to delay their making tawbah. Make them think that they're safe. Wallahi, I've heard people tell me to my own ear, I'm going to just disobey right now. And when I get older, I'm going to get myself together. Wallahi, I can't make this stuff up. And I'm a pretty decent storyteller. I can't make this stuff up. Steven Spielberg or them guys couldn't make this stuff. You cannot make this stuff up. Said, I'm gonna go ahead right now, and I'm gonna get myself together when I get older. There are women who don't cover. They say one day, after I make Hajj, maybe in my 50s, 60s, get myself together. Could you imagine how delusional you have to be to make a statement like that? He said, I'm going to get them to delay their tawbah, to remain steadfast upon these sins that they're committed, and they're like, I'm going to get myself together. People got girlfriends, actual girlfriends, not that he just, went out, made a mistake, made talk, got himself together. That's already tumultuous enough. No, they have this is my girl, make a ghusl, go to the Masjid, go back. This in relationships. Muslims will have a conversation with you and say, yeah, my lady. And you try to talk to him. He said, look, I'm going to get it together one day, make dua for you. This is what Shaytaan talking about here. What he said, وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, I'm going to get them to find comfort, to delay their tawbah. وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا. He said, I'm going to command them to slit the ears of cattle, which is prohibited in Islam. And I'm going to command them and trick them into modifying the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Now, inshallah, if you have a white GMC, you are blocking the entrance exit of the parking lot. You need to move your vehicle, please.
Hope the brothers and sisters heard that. If you have a white GMC vehicle, you're blocking the entrance of the Masjid, if you can please move. We can hear rahimahullah ta'ala. He said as we finish up, he said, وقال الحسن البصري, Hasan al-Basri said regarding this, يعني بذلك الوشم, that when Shaytaan said he's going to try to get the people, he's going to trick the people into modifying the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's talking about things like tattoos and, splitting your teeth, people get tattoos, you put a tattoo on your body, that's a distortion. You modify the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you did something permanently, right? To change the creation of Allah. Listen to what he said. He said, I'm going to order them and trick them into changing Allah's creation. We actually have men a full-blown man or a male. We can't call them men anymore. I would not dare give them that title. One time, Abu Bakr al-Jazari, Sheikh Falah ibn Ismaaeel al-Mundakar, the brother, remember when he came to visit us here one time, I believe we were in New York at the time. He said that when he was in the Masjid of Sheikh Abu Bakr al-Jazari, either himself or one of his colleagues were there, he said, rahimahullah, rahmatullah alayhima, he said, the Sheikh had a dars in his house, he used to have some durus in his house. And during one of the sittings, someone knocked on the door. And they came to the Sheikh and said, Sheikh, there's a man, listen, there's two men at the door. And they came to see you.
He said he stopped his bus and said, yo, you have to bring me to the door. Because I've waited my whole life to see one man. You said you got two at the door? I have to go see this with my own eyes. I have to go meet them. Right? So the term man is prestige. Males, you have males, right? Who right now, listen, I cannot make this up. Just as recent as yesterday, my wife told me that she has a relative who works in the medical field. And that relative told her that the men, quote unquote transgenders, go into the facilities and ask for pelvic exams, pap smears. They're going into the facilities, so women's doctors, gynecologists, right? They're going to the gynecologists, males, trying to get birth control, asking for pelvic exams. And by law, and I don't think there's really no law because, you know, the LGBTQ, their whole thing is to make everybody think that this stuff is a law. But when you look at the laws, they don't have these. All of these laws they claim, where did they get them? How did the law pass that fast? There's some, but for the most part, a lot of this stuff is not laws. They have a way, the leaders, and this is documented, they said this in their books. They mastered media persuasion, so they know how to make everybody believe that this is what it is. You keep telling a lie long enough, people are going to treat it like the truth. That's the law, that's the law. Look, the police will stop you, go in your car, Patterson, cop, everybody, we never said, officer, what's the reason for your search? Man, I've never said that in my life. As soon as they come, the first thing to get your license, make sure everybody, and legally, you're not supposed to just go in your car like that without probable cause. You can't do that, according to the law. But if the customs of the people is that you allow that and you accept it, everybody goes with it. So a lot of these quote unquote laws that are in place, they're not real laws. But it's becoming a cultural norm and a custom, and people just assume that you have to do it this way. And that your freedom of speech, freedom of expression, as long as you're not inciting violence and harm, which we have no desire to do, you can clearly tell somebody, listen, I think what you're doing is wrong, and that you modify it to your body, and I personally think it's disgusting. And I hope you have a good day, as nasty as you are. And that is totally 1,000% within the realms of legality and permissibility in our country. But not in the customs, oh, you violated, you broke the law. But the rapper could say, I'm gonna go get this girl, do this, call her B's, call her HOEs, call her whatever you want to call her, then I'm gonna go back and kill everybody in the house, and that's freedom of expression. You understand? It's Shaytaan. I'm gonna get them to change the creation. I'm gonna get them to try to change their gender, modify their bodies, do all kind of plastic surgery. Right? Some of the Salaf said that this means he's going to get them to change Allah's religion, to modify the meanings of the Quran and the Sunnah, meaning of the Torah, meaning of the Injil, get them to misconceptualize everything that's supposed to be this way. I'm going to trick them and make them think it's the other way. Instead of teaching the people to take care of themselves, we're going to feed them poison, get them to think it's okay to eat poison until you're about to die, then go to the doctor. Right? You have people that get married with the intention of not staying married. I'm going to get married for a little while, just have some fun, and then get a divorce. Modifying the whole concept of marriage. Everything about us and the way we move as a society, Shaytaan has manipulated us to thinking it's the right way. And in all actuality, he's changed the essence of who we are. God tricked us to change the essence of who we are. Excuse me. That's why Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, he said when he was explaining the isti'adah that we make at the end of the salah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from the adab Jahannam, the adab of Jahannam, the adab al-qabr. And we ask Allah to save us from what? Fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat. The fitnat al-mahi, the fitna of life and death. The fitna of life, he said, is that أن ترى الحق باطلا وأن ترى الباطل حقا. That you see the truth to be falsehood and you see the falsehood to be true. Our very last statement for the evening, inshallah ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah, after he told Adam, our father Adam alayhi salatu salam, and our mother Hawa alayhi salatu salam, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us from falling into the mistake that they made, alayhi salatu salam, and we love them, and we honor them, but we have to acknowledge the situation that they fell into when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya bani Adam, la yaftinannakum ash-shaytan kama akhraja abawaykum min al-jannah. O sons and daughters of Adam, do not let Shaytan trick you and deceive you the same way he tricked and deceived your parents and caused them to be kicked out and taken out of the paradise. Don't let Shaytan trick you and deceive you the same way he tricked them and deceived them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he told us what transpired with them. He said, وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةَ. When he said, oh Adam, you and your wife live in the paradise. You and your wife live in the Jannah. وَقُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. And eat from whatever you want to eat from in this paradise, wherever you want to eat from in this paradise. And the ulama said, whenever you want to eat in this paradise. You have absolute freedom to indulge in everything in this paradise. وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. But do not go near this one tree. You can eat from everything that you want, anytime you want, anywhere you want in the paradise. But do not go near this tree. Don't go near it. Stay away from this one tree. Muslim men, you can marry whoever you want to marry from the women that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it permissible for us to marry, but you can't go near fornication and adultery. You know, very simple. It's a filthy thing and a disgusting path to tread. You can eat whatever you want to eat except for the few foods that Allah made it permissible. You can indulge in so many things. Al-aslu fil mu'amalat al-ibaha. The general rule, as the scholars say, every day, buying, selling, eating, and drinking, is that everything is permissible, except for what Allah specifically made impermissible. وَالْأَصْلُ فِي الْعِبَادَةِ الْمَنْعِ إِلَّا بِالدَّلِيلِ. And the general rule when it comes to worship Allah is that all worship to Allah is impermissible unless you have a text that makes that worship permissible. So you can indulge in whatever you want, but these few things that Allah made impermissible, you have to stay away from. Adam and Hawa, our parents, alayhi salam, the same concept. You can indulge in everything you want in the Jannah, except for this tree. Do not go near this tree and wind up falling into those who are in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, he brought some fa'idah from this ayah. He said, من فوائد الآية الحذر لوقوع الزلل الذي أو الزلل الذي يمليه الشيطان. He said, from the benefits of this ayah is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us how we need to stay away from falling into the tricks that Shaytan is known to use on people. لقوله تعالى فأزلهم الشيطان عنها. Right? Based off the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Shaytan tricked them and caused them to be removed from the paradise. He said, وَمِنْهَا أَنَّ الشَّيْطَانِ يَغُرُّ بَنِي آدَمْ كَمَا غَرَّ أَبَاهُمْ حِينَ وَسْوَسَ لِآدَمْ. He said, and Shaytan, he tricks and deceives the sons and daughters of Adam the same way he tricked their father, Adam, by whispering to him and manipulating him. وَحَوَّا, and our mother, by tricking her and manipulating her. وَقَاسَمَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. And he came to them in a way and convinced them in a way by saying to them, listen, I'm just trying to give you some good advice. I'm trying to help you. Right? I'm trying to help you. That's what people tell me. I'm trying to help you. Somebody corrupt evil. You think they're going to come and just come with evil and come? No, they beautify it. They make everything, all of the people with Shaytaan, when they come to you with something, they beautify it. They make it look like, make you feel like you're missing out. Right? You go to these places, they lit up with lights, and they got girls in the place, and they got pictures, and they got everything. Music, everything to try to draw you in. And it's evil and dark and filthy. Evil, dark, and filthy. All of them. Shaytaan came to them. He said to them, Inni lakuma lamina nasihin. I'm just trying to give you some advice. I'm sincere. I want good for you. I honestly just want good for you. I'm trying to give you advice. I'm trying to help you. وقال يا آدم هل أدلك على شجرة الخلد وملك لا يبلى. How about I give you, right? How about I show you a tree that if you eat from this tree, it's going to give you eternal life. You eat it and you'll live forever. And it's going to give you a kingdom and dominion you can't even conceptualize. You have everything simply by eating from this tree. Now he knows, Adam and Hawa, both of them knew that this tree is haram. They both knew they're in Jannah with everything. Shaytaan went to them. He's so crafty that he was able, could you imagine being in Jannah right? Imagine we go to Jannah right now and wind up getting kicked out and brought right back to the dunya. Imagine it. If we were to go to Jannah right now, make a mistake, and get kicked back, the humiliation, what we would feel. There's a brother that I know, a young brother, who left his country, came to the United States, and fell into, a lot of people start making a lot of sense. Again, I give you a million guesses. You're living there. Okay? Nowhere around here, miles and miles away. He came to the United States and he fell into a lot of sin, like real bad drinking problems, girls. He fell into he made a lot of mistakes. And so the brother couldn't get himself together. So I suggested to some of his friends, I said, why don't the brother put some money together and we send the brother back home to his family? Because he can be away from the demons and the things that's messing him up. He said, that brother's been here for a long time. If he goes back to his village with nothing to show for it, no money, and he goes back to his village and his mother and uncles and family got to take care of him, it's too shameful. He can't go back there like that. Imagine being put in Jannah right now and then being thrown back into the dunya because of something that we did. And we know that the Jannah that we go to, inshallah, we ask that Allah make us from the people of Jannah, from those of A'la. The Jannah that Allah puts Bani Adam in from now, or from the time that Allah put Adam and Hawa out up until Yawm al-Qiyamah, that Jannah, the ulama says, one where you don't leave. But the legislation for them was different. And that's why some of the ulama, you see some of these differences. Was that the Jannah, that the same Jannah that Allah talks about in the Quran, or was it another one, was it on earth? There's a lot of statements the ulama make or they discuss regarding this. But one thing they all agree on is that the Jannah that you go to in this life, after living in the dunya, is one that you could never get kicked out of. But I mean, just figuratively speaking, if somebody was placed in the Jannah right now and they kicked out, imagine a level of humility. We can't even conceptualize that possibility. They were in Jannah, and Shaytaan figured out a way to manipulate them and beautify their deeds for them in such a way that they fell into the one sin possible and got kicked out. He said, فَالشَّيْطَانُ قَدْ يَأْتِي الْإِنسَانِ فَيُوَسْوِسُ لَهُ فَيُسَخِّرُ الْمَعْصِيَةَ فِي عَيْنِهِ Shaytaan goes to the human being and he whispers to him and he causes the person to diminish the sin. And it makes the sin like it's a small thing. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's only this, it's only that. Right? It's only one drink. You never drink. It's one drink on New Year's Eve. It's one drink. It's one lie. You tell the truth all the time. It's one lie. You always fast the whole Ramadan. You're going to eat Ramadan one time. Hold on. Malik, say something? Oh, okay. All Ramadan. But this Ramadan, you just eat one time. Live a little. Sister, you wear hijab every single day. You cover your face every day. We at the beach today. Relax. Short, you wear shorter abaya, feet out. Relax. Cut your beard off, let it grow back. He might make the sins seem minor. That's what the Salaf used to say. لا تنظر إلى صغرة المعصية ولكن انظر إلى عظمة العصية. Don't look at how small the sin is. Look at how great the one you're disobeying is. Then you won't fall into it. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا قَبْضَتُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ. That they don't estimate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a just estimation. The way they view Allah is not accurate. The things that these people, the mushrikun, say and think about Allah is not accurate. That's why they can commit the sins they commit. If you tell a person that your God is on a cross, nailed to a cross, was defeated by Bani Ismaaeel of all people, humiliated, your God was humiliated by Bani Ismaaeel, and now that's the same God that sees you when you commit this sin. You better not do that, because that God of yours on the cross, humiliated, sad, and stressed out, is going to get you. The psyche is not going to, it can't work. It just can't work. It cannot work. These Hindus and all these people, it cannot work. Because their view of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inaccurate. There are some distorted view of who Allah is. So it's easy to commit sins. But when you understand the azamah, the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is going to prevent you and keep you and push you away from falling into those sins. He says, so we come to the human being and he gets them to cause this, to look at their sins like they're small. ثم إن كانت كبيرة لم يتمكن من تصغيرها مناه أن يتوب منها فيسهل عليه الإقدام. So if he can't convince the person to believe that the sin is small because the person is just, the sin is just too big, it's just a big sin. You can't get somebody, certain sins, the person is at a level where they just know that this is a big sin. You can't get them to make the sin, to consider sin to be a small sin that's not going to affect them. He'll get the person to say, look, you could just make tawbah. You could just make tawbah. It's okay. You commit the sin. What's who will Allah? Just go make tawbah, and that's it. I've heard people call and say, listen, I'm thinking about doing such and such and make tawbah. What's your advice? One time, two brothers argued. I'm not gonna say what city it's in because I don't want the brothers from that city to get mad. They got a rough reputation. It's not in Jersey. That's the hint. The brother got an argument. He said, man, I'm about to knock you out and go pray 2 rak'ah. He told him straight. He said, I'm going to knock you out and then go pray 2 rak'ah. Straight. He's dead serious. There was a new Muslim there. He said, I don't even understand this. What did he say? Yeah, that's what he said. No, it's not. He said, brother, just some cultural struggles. But Shaytaan, if he can't get you to acknowledge this, if you acknowledge the sin is a major sin, then he'll get you to delay the tawbah. If you fall into it, he gets you to delay the tawbah, or he'll talk you into committing the sin by letting you know what you have to go through. And he causes you to become, to make it not that big of a deal. He said, well, I do what, and he said, so because of that, due to all this, beware of your enemy. هذا ما عندي وصلوات الله وسلامه على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد إن شاء الله تعالى